Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So I asked this question, are you at this point in your life where you just want to feel fulfilled? Maybe things are pretty good. Maybe you've kind of figured things out in your journey, but maybe there's a little something that's missing. And that's the fullness, the richness in your life to be a whole, fulfilled person. We're going to talk about that today. Very inspiring. And I also want to say that you are important. And she wrote a book all about that. Love Yourself, Love Your Life. And she's back with us. She's an amazing licensed clinical psychologist. Ann Creekmore joins us on the program. Hi, Ann. How are you?
Good, Steve. How are you?
I'm loving your book.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is, I feel like it was written for me. I really do. But that means it resonates with all of us. And this is chapter 8 in your book. And this is really for all of us at the point, and maybe we're not, listen, we all are ready to love our life, at least here. This is my belief.
Mm-hmm.
But we might not really be ready. Yeah, I'm assuming you got to do some work to get truly at this point where you can truly love your life. And maybe that's why it's chapter 8, because the other chapters, some work there involved to love yourself and love your life to get to that point. Does that sound reasonable?
It's reasonable. Exactly.
Yeah.
You're moving in sequence. Uh-huh.
So when we say to be a whole, fulfilled person, what do we mean by that?
Well, to be a whole fulfilled person is to realize that you're as you said, that you're important and you have rights and needs to fulfill yourself. We might not have learned them as children, depending on what our family of origin situations were. Some people came from the scold and spank generation where it was all about get your homework done, get your chores done, be good girl, be good boy, and not really as focused on your rights and needs and feelings. And so we have to, when we become adults or getting to become adults, we have to start to realize we have these rights to have our feelings, our needs met. And those would be like the whole fulfilled person circle of needs, your physical, mental, spiritual, social, will. And I can go into what this means more, your emotional needs and so on. And that we have a right to now reparent ourselves in a way to say, hey, these are things, taking care of myself that I'm going to start to explore and see that I am fulfilled in these areas.
How do you get to that point? Is it really the work that needs to get done? And we can all say, of course I want to feel fulfilled. Of course I want to love my life. Who wouldn't? But I'm thinking that you might not be able to do that unless you're ready. And in order to be ready, you got to clean up some of the stuff over here to get to here. And it's really part of the journey. But how do you know when you really are ready to start living that whole fulfilled life?
Well, it really could be any time. Anytime you feel upset or that you're not feeling your life is fulfilling would be the time to kind of discover what it is in your life, like what area of your life maybe, or areas that you're not attending to, that you're neglecting, that you can start to put your time and energy into enhancing those areas of your life. Hopefully, if you have healthy relationships, there'll be people that will be concerned about you as well. And then, maybe they'll help you to encourage you to do certain things to make your life better as well. That can help. Or going into therapy and looking at, well, what is it in my life that is not working and I'm not attending to, and how can you do that by talking to a therapist?
What's it feel like when you're at that point where you are truly living that whole fulfilled life?
Well, I mean, you feel happy. You're loving yourself, you're loving your life, you're engaging in activities and ways of being that are your joys and passions. The idea is to discover what your joys and passions are. They're there. And maybe sometimes you have to kind of look back on your childhood, like, well, when did I feel a high, a natural high? What was I doing? What brought me joy? And then maybe what have I always kind of wanted to do? And so then that can kind of give you some clues. But the idea is to kind of be a little bit compulsive in the sense of just thinking about yourself, as like, well, am I happy? How am I doing physically? Do I have deteriorating health? Do I have energy? Do I, am I doing things that increase my physical well-being? Like, am I engaged in some sport or activity that brings me fitness or raises my serotonin, endorphins, things, but that's your personal joy, your personal hobby. Is there an area that I need to attend to in my health and get more help with, and so on. So you kind of look at each of the areas to see, are you feeling good in that area or are you not feeling good in that area? Like intellectually, are you in the, in the mental area? Like, are you feeling intellectually stimulated? Are you doing things that, that are expressing your talents or your creativity, and what did you like to do? What did you like to do as a child or had thought, about doing that you might start adding into your everyday experiences so that you can feel fulfilled in those areas?
There was a point when I was dealing with a lot, and we're all dealing with stuff all the time. But there was some challenges and it was stressing me out. And it came to a point where I walked outside one day from my office and I remember just looking at the sky and the sun. And I finally had a feeling of like, I call it the quiet calm. It was just like, oh, I got this. We're good.
Mm-hmm.
We're good.
Yeah.
And it was something that could have really tipped me over and came close at times. There was a lot going on. But it was just like, you got this. And I got to remember that, when challenges come up, that feeling of like, it's going to be okay. You got it,
Exactly. You bring up a wonderful point, which is really the main point, your core, which is on the whole fulfilled person. I have in my book these circles, and it shows the fulfilled person and you being a rainbow of your joys. And then it shows, like, if you're in the unfulfilled person, it shows the mental preoccupation with something so that all the areas of your life, you're giving little time and energy to them. So you're unhappy or you're alone or you're whatever. And then you've got your own circle to fill in your joys. But at the top of it is what I called visionary. It's kind of like connecting to your inner good, your highest self, your higher power, your inner peace, your hope, your ability to visualize and envision the passion that you can create this wonderful life for yourself, that it's all okay. Like you're saying, like you got it, it's just this inner sacred space, if you will, where you're connecting to that source of your good and believing in your good. And so you're right. In a sense, once you get that, then you can say, oh, these other pieces are like just no brainers. I can start to, well, I've always wanted to dance, and I'm going to just start taking some dance lessons for my physical and my talent or expressiveness of creativity. And then you can kind of put that out like, I got this. I can do this. Doesn't matter what age I am. I can start this now and add this. And I can look at my calendar and find, a couple spots and pencil it in so that I set an appointment with myself through the week of what I'm going to be doing. So, but you got to come from that feeling of connectedness to source, if you will, to the good, to purpose, to have that passion to co-create your life, to make it into that. And that sounds like what happened to you. You just connected and said, I got this. I mean, I've connected to this good source, to what's in me, my highest self, my higher power, to go forward.
The challenge is remembering it. Because
Excellent.
I mean, since then I've gone through a lot, like all of us. I'm no different than anybody else. But as we're talking about it now, it's coming back to me. It's like, dude, you need to go back to that when challenging
Exactly.
things come up. There's a great song by a local artist, and he's in my area here on Long Island.
Mhm.
And he makes just really interesting songs. Actually, there's some albums he recorded on a big boat in his backyard where he set up a studio. And there's one
Cool.
song, and I'm bringing this up because it's kind of what you just said, or very much like what you just said. And the lyrics go, his name is Robert Fortier. And the lyrics go, my core is still the same, but there's a few more cracks there in my shell. And it's kind of
Right.
a folk, upbeat, folky kind of song, but it's like, yeah, that's the truth for I think all of us,
Correct,
you know?
correct. We all have that, inner peace, inner sacred place within, no matter what religion or spirituality or life philosophy, we all have our way to connect to that or to think about that. And then that's where we have to come from. And then even though we've got these triggers, these traumas, or these things that have happened, or stressors, we got to always get back to that core. I'm the whole fulfilled person. I partly call it, as I said, it's at the top. It's the visionary, the power to envision, that you believe in yourself and that you're connected to the good that can create good in your life. But there's the spiritual part, a slice of the pie as well, which is just your ability to have some faith in the good, some hope that there's a reason, that there is a purpose to your life, that there's more to your life than just the external material, that you can feel a sense of hope, faith, some purpose that you're in your life. And that can be enhanced by putting time and energy into doing some things that would enhance that, like, discovering what kind of spiritual philosophy you would like to follow, or religion if you don't have them already, or life philosophy. There's so many kinds of things that get you into transcending beyond the everyday stuff that can be draining, and get you back into that. So if you put in your time and energy into that over the course of the week, I think we talked once before about kind of waking up in the morning and just being of gratitude, counting your blessings, so to speak, but just starting there, or being at that inner peace, at just following your breath, or then getting over with a like-minded group of friends in a church or spiritual center or a towns group that practices virtues, whatever it may be, or meditation group, whatever it may be, that will help you remember it, because it's like a part of your daily life, and you're giving energy and time and practicing those skills and that focus. Mm-hmm.
I love what you have here in the book. And this chapter is not very long, but it's very insightful in that just what you said at the top of the chart. There's I don't know, I know it's not going to be clear, but I know you can
Mm-hmm.
tell that's the visionary. And
Correct.
then around
Mm-hmm.
the pie chart, if you will, there is
Mm-hmm.
spiritual, mental, social, physical, emotional, and descriptions of that and how it applies to your life. But what's really cool is, oh, look at this, the unfulfilled person. So here's the other side of it when
Right.
those things are out of balance. Because
Exactly.
you have a perfect balance if you look at every quadrant or
Right.
every section, they're all balanced. And next to it is the unbalanced person. That's missing. It's radically out of balance. But what's
Right.
super cool too is you get to write it in the book.
Right. Your joys, your passions, that
Yeah, I
when
wish.
you
There we go.
mm-hmm,
Hmm.
that's your own circle to fill out, make a copy, put it in the fridge, put it on your mirror, so that you put in the things that you're doing to care for yourself.
Now, there's a section here about addiction or dependency and coping versus self care and self actualizing.
Mm-hmm,
So, a lot of people do gravitate toward a substance or something to self medicate, however you want to phrase it, to cope with things.
mm-hmm,
Let's talk about that kind of dependency and how it looks versus doing the self care. And we've talked about self care. I don't want to say it's kind of obvious. It's taking the time to do things for yourself, to make yourself feel good. Those little moments in life, little joy, get a
Mhm.
pedicure, whatever it might be. Um, can we look at that? Because so many people
Absolutely.
forget that, but then they gravitate to the other stuff.
Right. If you want to pull the book up again, if it's still open at that point,
Yeah, it is.
show that about the circle, the middle circle, the unfulfilled person. And that's where it brings up, or it shows you actually yeah, that one there, right, correct. Basically, it's when, see, all the other needs, the social, emotional, physical, spiritual, these little tiny areas that you're slices that you're putting your energy into. So of course, socially, if you don't do anything, you're unhappy. Where the three quarters of that is about dependencies, where you're mentally preoccupied doing something that is taking all your time and energy. Therefore, you do not have the time and energy to actually care for yourself and meet your needs. And they can be many, many different things. I mean, they can be drugs and alcohol addictions. They can be codependency, like overfunctioning or trying to see that your alcoholic or your addict is safe, an overfunctioning. It can even be like excessive religiosity, where everything is going into that and not into any other areas of your life. It can be gambling, any other kind of addiction. It could be workaholism, where you're putting all your energy to work or to achievement or to making money. It's anything that you're so mentally preoccupied with that you're putting most of your time and energy to into that, to the detriment of having the time and being balanced and well-rounded and caring for yourself as a whole fulfilled person. So there's the two pieces, trying to find, thinking about what you'd like, your joys, and then having time and putting it on and carrying it out. But you've also got to wean from the preoccupation, from the addictions, if you will, or the dependencies, because otherwise you won't have the time for it.
Hmm. So what I'm getting here from you, Ann, is somebody may be putting all their focus on something. It could be even the dependencies. And let's say they're dealing with a challenging situation.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't know how to deal with it properly, and that's okay. It's human. So then they gravitate toward becoming dependent on things. But by putting that hyper focus on, I can't deal with this. This is just, I don't have the strength for this. And now I'm going to focus on alcohol, whatever it might be.
Right.
You're not putting the attention on those other things, like the social aspect of your life, the physical aspect of your life, the emotional aspect of your life. Those are getting ignored while you're focusing here. How do you
Exactly.
how do you change your focus so that there can be balance in your life?
Right. Well, I think just this exercise of thinking about yourself and reading about I have pretty much most of my clients, we work on that, and it's kind of a workbook, and they look at and analyze themselves like, wait a minute, how do I feel in these areas? And am I putting so much energy into a certain area? And then think about, well, what could you do instead? What are my real joys, my real passions? And then starting to fit them into your calendar. Like if you have like some sort of addiction, obviously there's groups, and there's every kind of group there is for addictions. There's AA, Alcohol Anonymous. There's, Overeaters Anonymous. There's Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. There's Codependent Anonymous, et cetera, et cetera. You can go to groups. There you've got mental stimulation. You've got social belonging to a group that you can relate to people, or they're all struggling with a similar thing. They can fit many emotional support. It can fit many of your things just to go there. And there's obviously treatment for addictions as well, and going to a therapist and so on. But the idea would be first try to wean by thinking about your other needs and what you're going to do for your other needs, and try to schedule them. It takes a while. It's not like you can get them all in 1 week sometimes, or even that you'll even know what it is over, right? It's a work in progress, but you start to wean from that preoccupation to including all these other activities. So that, like, if you feel an addiction or something, or feel a craving for the usual, you just want to go eat or whatever that, your preoccupation might be. Then your ego is, or whatever your compulsion, your desire, just that is just taking your time and energy from you, then you just kind of say, breathe through it, follow my breath, I can do it, and just go and look at your list of these other things and go say, well, what am I really feeling? What do I really need? Do I really just need another a piece of pie? I mean, or am I feeling kind of lonely? I haven't really done anything socially. Should I call a friend or see if we can, I go to lunch with a friend, I mean, just so you kind of weaning yourself from the preoccupation to being a whole fulfilled person.
Mm. Yeah, I think at that point it can come into, that's where the therapy and counseling comes in, to help you see it from a different angle. Because there's been times in my life where I've had a friend say to me, and during my journeys, I notice I use an S at the end of that word, journeys, because I believe, that we're in different types of journeys that add up to one big one.
Absolutely.
I've had a friend say to me, like, you're different. You don't really take the time you used to. Like you always love going kayaking and hiking and doing outdoor stuff, but I don't see you doing that anymore. And I know you got a lot going on, and I see just you're different. And at that time in my life, I didn't really realize it. I was like, whoa, you're right. I know I hadn't been taking a lot of time, but I thought I was, let's say this was the normal me doing, fun stuff with me and whatever. I thought I was kind of here because I had a lot going on, but I was really here, but didn't see it. But having somebody look at it, whether it's a really good, insightful friend who's honest, or a counselor, therapist, seeing it and presenting it to you in that way, you need it.
Correct. Absolutely. That's why healthy relationships and communication, focusing on your feelings, sharing your feelings, and being, is a part of it, very important part of it.
Yeah.
So it can get you kind of back on track. If you have health, and then of course, if you're with friends that that are preoccupied with the same thing that you're preoccupied with, then that's not going to help, because they're not going to see it any differently. They need somebody else outside to tell them, but wait a minute, you're drinking too much,
Right.
and you're not the same person. So it's really important, you are your friends to some degree. You need those healthy friends that are healthy and are caring and devoted to you and help you understand and to be your best self, not just somebody else who's also preoccupied with the same thing. If you're preoccupied with money and achievement and that's all they're into, they're not going to say go kayaking. Wait a minute, we got this money to make right now.
And you got to do things that serve you. Because I have a friend, known him a couple of years, and we've introduced each other to mutual friends. But in the fall here, he's been doing touch football, and a bunch of people get together, guys and girls. And he almost guilts me sometimes, and I haven't gone, and I'm not into it. It's just, it seems like it would be fun, but it's just, I'm like, yeah, I want to go. No, I really don't want to go. But my point is you need to find the things that really align with you, not to just phone it in, if you will, or just show up because you feel that you should or need to make somebody else happy. It's got to come from, we go back to the core. You got to go back to your core.
Exactly. And that is the slice of will you just brought up, which is your will, enhancing your willpower in a sense, which could be either, we'd already talked about this, about not, doing things out of addiction or compulsion, but also doing things out of obligation or pleasing others.
Yes.
You got to take care of your daily responsibilities and kind of be true to yourself, and then carry out, have the willpower to carry out things that are right for you, not just obligations or just
100%. And
things. Yeah.
You're so right. Because many of us are people pleasers. I know I am. And it's like, if I show up to play and commit to doing football like that every Sunday, I'm just doing it kind of to appease. Yeah, it'd be great to meet some new people. That part I love, but and maybe I could go and just cheer them on. But my Sunday mornings, typically my dog, bed, Dunkin' Donuts, delivery, and I don't get out of bed for a couple hours because I don't normally do. And that's
your time.
That's my zen. That's my zen.
Yes. That's
The book is so fantastic. We're just about out of time. I love the back of the book here, and it's so simple, but it says so much. And it might be reversed here on the Zoom, but there's one word. It's your picture, and it says joy, and that's it. I mean, it's like
that's it.
End of the book. Put a sentence there, period at the end of that, and that's it.
Find your joys.
Exactly. How do we find your book? I know it's available on Amazon if we do a search for Love Yourself, Love Your Life, and your pen name, which is also your maiden name, AP Filosa, is what you would search out. Best way to do that, to find the book?
Yes, that would be great. And you can also go to my website, my practice website that's in my name, but it's under Psychologist in Virginia, spelled out, plural S, Psychologist in Virginia, spelled out.com. And that has the book, and it has a lot of information about my practice and other kinds of things. And there will also be up very soon, because this book is being revised, there will be a Love Your Life Center.com website as well. And we'll have some of my other books and my, MP3s for hypnosis, for anxiety, depression, or for imbalances and dissociative disorders, or educationals about conflict and aggression. There's a lot of stuff on that. So that one is another one you can look at, the Love Your Life Center.
I can't believe you just said that. I have to share this because I have an audio from a hypnotherapist, the session I had about a month or so ago, not even related to sleep. But I listened to it. You're supposed to listen for 21 days at least. I listen to it at night before I go to bed. Forget about what it's trying to accomplish. It just makes me relaxed and tired because it makes you relaxed and you want to sleep. And I even suggest, I just texted a friend this morning who has trouble sleeping. And I said, you need to get audio of somebody putting you into a relaxed trance and getting you ready for sleep, because the stuff works. It's amazing.
Exactly. I've had many clients who will pay it before bed. My CDs, once it's for anxiety, depression, addiction, and sleep. And they do it to go to sleep. Yes.
Yeah. And she has anxiety, so that's part of it. And a lot of times she wakes up in the middle of the night with, and she went through a traumatic experience with the passing of somebody suddenly a couple of years ago. And every night, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, she wakes up almost in a panic. And I know that this would, calm her down. How do we are those available now, that audio?
I think they should be on Amazon now,
Okay.
but or they're in the works of being put on Amazon.
Gotcha.
You try them. They would be under AFC, but they will certainly be hopefully up in a week or two, the other website, and you can find them on that one.
Love it. Yeah. It's amazing. Amazon. I always say every night, I'm like, this is not going to work. I mean, I'm not going to get hypnotized. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is good. It's amazing how it works.
Wonderful.
And it's always a joy, literally, talking with you. Thank you so much for being here. And I look forward next time we get together.
Me too. Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home.
that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.